In this video, I'm going to talk you through promotions, right? And sometimes people get promoted at a very quick rate and it's very suspicious. And full disclosure, I did work with this person very briefly, Kunal Shah, during my time at Goldman Sachs, but anything I say in this video is publicly available information. But we're going to talk through, why do people get promoted younger? This guy got promoted to managing director at 27, which is much younger than the typical person gets promoted to managing director, and he got promoted to partner at 31. So things like this are a bit suspicious. So it's interesting to consider what other factors go into getting promoted beyond simply being good at the job, right? So he rapidly ascended to managing director at Goldman Sachs, like I said, 27, and partner at 31, and it's kind of remarkable. So there's certain things that kind of play into this factor of why he might be getting promoted so quick, right? He essentially had an early start where he joined Goldman Sachs in 2004 at 21, and he graduated prior to that from Cambridge University, a top university like Yale and Harvard in America, with a degree in mathematics. He had a lot of good performance with his interest rate products, trading, and then trading for the global macro desk. And he had outstanding performance and accelerated promotions, right? And then Goldman Sachs typically has a history of losing some top traders to hedge funds and things like that. So what they ended up doing was promoting him. This is their narrative, that they ended up promoting him quite quickly because they didn't want to lose him to competitive firms, right? And other hedge funds, other investment banks, so they wanted to promote him quite quickly. But it really is suspicious, people making it to managing director at 27, partner at 31, it just isn't adding up to me, right? So this is what they're saying, that he was very academically gifted, but many other people are academically gifted at Goldman Sachs or other top companies. Then they say, oh, well, he had really good trading performance. I question to what extent he was a superstar trader. When trading, and particularly when you're trading billions of dollars, there's all sorts of approval processes involved, all sorts of dynamics where it's not really as risky as you think it would be, and typically your managing director or the head of the desk is someone who's taking a lot of the risk and judging a lot of the risk taking that's being participated in. So this idea that he was just a star trader and better than everyone else, smarter than everyone else, more profitable than everyone else, it just isn't adding up. Something isn't quite right there, right? And then it talks about how they wanted to promote him to MD and partner to retain talent and prevent losing this apparently star employee to other companies, right? And then you look in 2011, he was also the listed under 30 under 30 in finance for Forbes. And if you're not aware of that, 30 under 30 is essentially when Forbes say we found 30 people under 30 years old who are quite successful, and they're people to look out for as future superstars in this industry, in society, right? Now, it's very suspicious to me, like, why does that occur? Now, again, everything I say is on publicly available information, and it kind of raises to questions that we all ask ourselves when you're working in any corporate environment. Why are certain people getting favorable treatment for promotions versus others? And if we look at some of the average ages of MDs at Goldman Sachs and how they get promoted, let's look into this in a bit of detail, right? So if we look at this particular PDF here, so we've got all sorts of distinctions on people who've been promoted at different levels. And if we just go back, if we look at Goldman Sachs, right? So typically, and it covers it here in this article about getting promoted, how you know you're too old to make MD and things like that. So what it says here is that essentially employees generally receive managing director level within 12 years of starting the firm. So if they start at 25, they typically become an MD in their mid-30s. So if typically managing directors earn that position at 35 years old, how did this guy get it at 27 years old? It doesn't make sense to me. And then we look at partner level, right? The average tenure before someone becomes partner is around 14 years. So I think it's fair to say if you're in your mid-30s, you can be managing director at Goldman Sachs. And if you're in your early 40s, you could be partner at Goldman Sachs. Now, there's so many rare instances where people become MDs at Goldman Sachs at a very young age, right? There's really a handful of cases, right? So in terms of, there's been a few instances where people have made MD at young instances like Kunal, and there was a few others who would get promoted around 27, 28 to that level. But it's very suspicious, and I don't trust the official story. There's so many alternative reasons why someone might become successful and reach this fast level of career progression, which we're going to go into in a moment. So these are kind of red flags for suspicious promotions. And before we go into that, I want to talk through this document. Now, Goldman Sachs, like many other top investment banks, they release publicly available information on their promotions, typically at the more senior levels. So let's go through their 2020 partner class to understand some interesting facts, right? It talks about how, 27% worked in more than one division, these people who make it to partner level. 15% worked in more than one region. So what it shows here is interesting to look through how people progressed and what are the key factors that make someone a partner, whether it's working in more than one division, working in multiple regions, having 14 to 15 years level of experience, working from campus hires. So there's a couple of interesting statistics, right? So if you've got people who started at campus hires, more than half of people who make it to partner level at Goldman Sachs typically started at very junior levels in their career at the campus, at university, got their first job into Goldman Sachs, and then worked there and climbed their way up the ladder, right? Then it talks about how 45% of them earned advanced degrees, which means that, getting a master's or PhD can help your statistically the ability to become a partner. Then it says that 24 languages were spoken across all of that broad demographic. So they do promote people globally. And then let's talk about diversity a bit, right? So again, the most favored demographic that is supposedly oppressed, that gets preferential treatment in many cases, I mentioned in my videos, 27% of those promotions were women, 7% black, 5% Hispanic, and 17% were Asian. And then we talk about diversity of partnership with new class, again, woman at the top, 18%, and then smaller demographics for others, Asian coming in a close second at 17%. And then we look at some of the partner classes. It goes through how many partners they promote each year, and the partner classes, whether it's America has 43 new partners, which you'd expect for an American bank to prioritize American promotions and partners there. That's where the head office is based, and less in Europe and Asia and so on. So let's delve a bit deeper into Kunal Shah. Now, I don't know any more information that I'll share publicly, but I want us to always think about the narrative when it comes to promotions and what results in fast career progression, because I don't trust the official story, and I started thinking about alternatives. That why do people, not specifically Kunal, but people in general, who might get promoted very quickly to MD in their late 20s to partner in their early 30s, what's actually going on here, right? It could be that they're just exceptionally talented, they have great analytical and trading skills, in his case as a trader, and they have good networking ability, or they have a good network, right? Which is kind of more what I'm leaning towards, right? People who have good networks, they might be one of the favorites of senior management, they're well connected internally, or they have good networks in the industry and maybe other people do want to hire them, and that's why they get promoted to stay at a particular company. Right, sometimes they have an influential mentor, maybe someone at the board level, C-suite level executive wants to promote this person. It could be linked to DEI, that they want to have certain racial demographics getting promoted quite quicker, so it reflects positively for the firm. And then you have other instances where companies such as Goldman Sachs may be promoting young stars to retain the talent and prevent them leaving to other companies, as we mentioned. It could be because they want to maintain client relationships. So if you have certain clients and they have a particular favorite contact at that company, at Goldman Sachs, maybe they want to keep Kunal because he's in the good books of many of their clients and they just generally like him. Another important factor that is never taken into account is family and influential connections, because if you have family wealth, maybe you're the son or linked to the billionaire company, or maybe another billionaire investor, that's another reason where you might get hired for a top role or promoted, because they want to keep you in the good books. They want to ensure that they maintain this other billionaire contact as on good terms with Goldman Sachs. That could be another reason why they promote people quite quickly. Might help them secure business deals and transactions, but that's another reason. And then I talked about DEI, quotas, diversity initiatives. Maybe they want diversity in leadership. That's another reason why that could be. And the other thing is, again, it could be his skills, unique market expertise, insights and strategies on trading. But again, these things are very hard for me to believe. There's so many super smart people at the company. There's so many analytical tools that people can use. This idea that this one guy was a standout trader compared to everyone else, when everyone has the same tools, the same analytical skills, and he's relatively junior compared to others, it just doesn't add up to me, right? It's not like he had a strong... See, there's a difference between someone who's maybe in management and they're managing a team of, say, 30 people, and they turn around things and all of a sudden the team goes from making a significant loss to a significant profit. That makes more sense. But if you have this one solo trader that's standing out, just a bit suspicious why you get promoted so quickly, right? And then when it comes to unconventional contributions, it could be, what did he get involved in? Was he involved in certain high-risk projects, high-risk business transactions, maybe with developing countries? I know emerging market governments, for example, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, they might have significant business transactions with major investment banks such as Goldman Sachs, and sometimes having a good middleman there that's kind of negotiating them and discussing some of those risky transactions and getting the governments to agree to these maybe large loans that they might take from major investment banks, that might put them in a powerful position, negotiating power in terms of having those internal stakeholders and external stakeholders that generate billions of dollars and a lot of profit for the company. And then another key factor would be internal politics, right? Things beyond his performance, maybe leadership just liked him, he was favorite of one of them, nepotism, things like that, or reshuffling in the division, restructuring where they wanted to put him in a position of power because he was going to enforce certain rules that senior management might want. And that's just a quick overview of different factors to consider about how the official narrative you're already always sold about merit, being in the right place at the right time, or having institutional knowledge, that's another buzzword they love to throw around, are the reasons why people are getting promoted. I just don't trust the official narrative. So next time you're at work, maybe you're feeling bad because you feel like you might be falling behind, other people getting promoted quicker than you. There's normally so many other factors going into it beyond the narrative that they push out. And what's interesting is, in this case, as with any other high profile role, major niche industry publications, in this case it's finance career websites, or in your case it might be tech career websites, you'll see certain names pop up and they'll build a whole narrative around them. Oh, this guy, he's super smart, he went to a top university, Cambridge, Harvard, he just is the best trader in the world. I just don't buy it. The same way we see the media lie about so many other narratives, this really could be about relationships or all the other factors I mentioned to you. So this is something I want you to bear in mind when it comes to climbing the corporate ladder. If you want to climb the corporate ladder fast, you got to think about what are the dynamics involved, right? And that's why you got to be realistic about things. For you, if you don't have those connections, maybe you're not benefiting from nepotism or favoritism from management, rather than feeling bad about that or thinking you need to go back to university and spend tens of thousands of dollars doing a master's degree in maths at Cambridge. This guy might have studied at Cambridge. That's not really the answer. Getting an MBA isn't necessarily the answer. What it really would be, if you're not someone who's getting a favorable treatment, is to job hop. That's the best option, right? You could stick around like Kunal Shah and maybe hope to get promoted to MD at 27, or you could just hop from one company to the other and get pay rises every 2 to 3 years, depending on your personal circumstances, how often you want to change to move ahead. And the thing is, with a lot of people, they're not going to make it to managing director or partner. They might make it to mid-management, senior mid-management, right, which would be like vice president, executive director type of level. And even within that range, you can get pay rises, because if you're at one company, you're working at VP, there's no chance you're going to make it to managing director, but maybe you can get a 10 to 20 or 30% pay rise by moving to another similar investment bank or moving to a hedge fund and navigating through that through every 3 to 5 years. Depending on your circumstances, it can vary, making those jumps that will benefit you. So that's important to look out for, so you don't get caught up with feeling bad about maybe the progress you're making compared to others, because you never know what's going on behind the scenes. So I hope you found that helpful, right? I've worked in the finance industry. I've helped navigate my clients through moving to different companies, private equity, hedge funds, other investment banks, in the tech industry too. And I've helped them navigate these type of difficult scenarios, which are always the unspoken of realities of what the finance world is really like. I've worked in the finance industry for over a decade, Goldman's, Morgan Stanley, many other top companies, and I offer career advice. Link in description if you want to speak with me directly. And just finally, for any Goldman Sachs simps, stooges, people out there, everything I shared here was publicly available information, so don't reach out to me, I'm not reaching out to you. Everything else is on eFinancial Careers, all those new sites, Forbes and so on. So I'm just pointing out certain suspicious circumstances that could be raised. So stay safe out there. I'm staying safe out here. Thanks for listening. 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you next time.